Can a meal reveal a music prodigy? Discover the surprising genius behind their laughs. Jenna stood in a cramped kitchen, the air thick with the rich aroma of the creamy potato casserole simmering in her grandmother's old dish. She could hear the commotion echoing from the church gym, where laughter and chatter felt like both a comfort and a reminder of her own isolation. Balancing 2 jobs and caring for her introverted son, Sam, had left her battle-worn. The casserole was a desperate hope, a bridge from her past to the present. She wanted to be more than just a mother, she wanted to be a force. But the pressure weighed heavy. What if no one cared? As she stirred the bubbling mixture, Jenna's thoughts raced. Would people even notice her dish amidst the spread of store-bought goodies? It was a connection, a piece of her heritage and family buried beneath layers of survival. Sam, slipping through the cracks of their small-town life, hadn't he quite realized how desperately they both needed this reminder of who they were, but she could sense the burden sitting on his shoulders. It mirrored her own. Meanwhile, Sam paced the sidelines of the gym, his heart tangled between a longing for visibility and the crippling fear of being seen. The laughter echoed loudly. It was a strange symphony, like the melodies that flowed from the old keyboard in their living room, melodies that were his escape. He wanted to express the tumult in his soul, but every time he attempted to step into the light, doubt clutched at his throat. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Sam's thoughts spun in spirals. The music that comforted him felt more like a burden, the pressure to be something extraordinary was immense. What if he failed? What if nobody cared about his dreams? And what about his mom, caught in a grind of labor just to keep them afloat? He couldn't shake the feeling he was dragging her down with him. As the potluck continued, Jenna felt her heart racing. She had an invitation from Mrs. Thompson, the retired music teacher, who saw something in Sam that she couldn't even name. Join the music program, Mrs. Thompson had urged, but the thought left Jenna hollow inside. What if it meant more late nights and added pressure for both of them? What if it took them down a path they couldn't recover from? The uncertainty gnawed at her, a double-edged sword that threatened to sever their already fragile routine. Jenna and Sam needed to be each other's anchor, but what would they become if either pursued their passion? In moments of clarity, she questioned the choices she made, the demands of life and motherhood that consumed her. How many dreams had she buried under the weight of responsibility? Sometimes it felt like they were racing toward an unknown cliff, each note played and every dish served echoed in her mind, leading to a truth she wasn't ready to confront. As Sam stood silently at the edge of the chaos, the stakes intensified, a talent show loomed closer. How would they choose, and at what cost? With a renewed sense of urgency pulsating through her, Jenna glanced at Sam, who remained shrouded in the shadows of their lives. The music that enveloped him signaled something deeper that they both needed to uncover, yet dread crept in like a thief, ready to steal away their chance for acceptance and fulfillment. Would they find strength in each other, or would dreams, like echoes in their minds, fade away? Jenna felt the heaviness of potential decisions wrap around her like an unyielding veil. Stirring the casserole, she wrestled with the tide of emotions brewing within. Each fold of the creamy potatoes seemed to mirror her internal conflict, her desire for growth layered beneath a surface of fear and uncertainty. The invitation from Mrs. Thompson was still fresh, like a challenge scrawled in bright letters over the monotony of her daily grind. Join the music program, Mrs. Thompson's words echoed in her head, but the idea of stepping out of her routine felt daunting. She intended to be strong for Sam, but her own dreams lay buried under years of responsibility. What had she given up? Her ambitions for a stable home had morphed into a life of survival, and now, optimism felt foreign. Would her efforts truly yield blossoms of hope, or would they wither as inevitably as her expectations? while Jenna contemplated the past, Sam meandered through the chaotic gym, observing other children's laughter as if it were a precious symphony. The contrast between their gleeful abandon and his own stifled yearning gnawed at him. Each smile felt like a reminder of the dreams he had silenced. He found himself drifting toward the makeshift stage in the corner, a platform that sparked both excitement and overwhelming dread. Could he really step into the light and let his music reveal the layers of his soul? Glancing back at his mother, he noted the way her shoulders stooped, caught up in a world he wished he could ease for her. Sam customized a plan to relieve her burden, ordering his thoughts in a way that felt almost like composing a piece for the piano. He could write his own narrative. After all, he had a story to tell, and music was the medium he understood best. Until now, he had suppressed this urge, fearing rejection. But something ignited within him. He wanted to share his melodies, not just hide behind them. The tender notes of the keyboard in their living room beckoned to him, filling the silence that surrounded the tumult of their lives. Sam craved validation not just from peers, but from his mother. He took a deep breath, pushing the whispered doubts aside. What if it wasn't just about him? What if pursuing their passions would lighten Jenna's heavy heart and lead them both to a renewed sense of purpose? Across the kitchen, Jenna set the casserole aside, needing an ephemeral reprieve from her own thoughts. She ventured into the gym, the cacophony of sounds blending into a rhythm that mirrored her own heartbeat. And there was Sam, positioned near the stage, a melancholic expression painted over his youthful face. Determination flickered in his eyes, a signal that perhaps he was ready to accept the challenge, embrace the risk. "Mom!" he called out, surprising her. "I want to play. I want to share my music." The straightforward declaration rocked Jenna, a wave of hope splashing against her doubts. Suddenly, in that moment, they were no longer just a mother and son, they were two equals on the precipice of possibility. Sam could see a way to affirm their roots by stepping forward. Yet within that clarity resided uncertainty that loomed dangerously close. What if the risk led to failure? What if angst tarnished the shared moment? As the echoes of laughter surrounded them, Jenna realized they both stood at a threshold. With Sam inching toward the platform, a pivotal choice loomed closer. They could either retreat back into the shadows of their insecurities, or they could embrace the chance for transformation. "Are you ready?" she whispered, her voice blending nervous energy with a fragile confidence. "More than ever," he replied, breathing deeply. The moment trembled with potential, thickening the air around them. Jenna prepared herself to support his leap into the unknown while confronting her own hidden aspirations. And in that electrifying instant, both mother and son sensed that dreams could not only coexist but might also illuminate paths they had never dared to tread before. Yet as Sam approached the stage, a new anxiety washed over Jenna, the realization that discovering their strengths could shatter the fragile understanding they had built. Would facing this moment lead to a breakthrough, or irrevocably alter their relationship? The resolution to step forward loomed like a shadow over them, ready to unveil new layers of themselves neither could have imagined. Was this the beginning, or were they on the verge of constructing walls that would separate them further? Jenna felt the weight of the moment press in as Sam stepped closer to the stage, each footfall echoing the heartbeat of her fears. What if this was a catalyst for change that neither of them could handle? Each of Sam's tentative movements seemed infused with the resolve to break free, yet the delicate threads binding them felt perilously close to snapping. As he mounted the platform, Jenna's heart raced. She imagined what it must be like for Sam standing where dreams could be realized but also shattered, with every gaze piercing through the cocoon of familiarity they shared. The space around Sam transformed from a mere gymnasium into a vivid square of potential, shifting with the specter of unspoken aspirations hovering in the air. Would he take this leap? Would she let him? Moments felt elongated, time ceasing to flow seamlessly as she questioned her instincts. She had brushed aside her own dream of music long ago, convinced it was impractical, a relic of innocence in the harsh light of adult responsibility. Yet here was Sam, embodying everything she once longed to embrace. The very sight ignited a flicker of recognition within her. Perhaps in giving him permission to explore, she could regain a fragment of her own buried desire. Could pursuing their passions together become a bridge, rather than a chasm that divided them? Go for it, Sam, she finally offered, her voice barely above a whisper, steeped in both anxiety and excitement. He turned to her, eyes alight with both fear and determination. Jenna watched as he swallowed hard, externalizing the turmoil within. Throughout his days spent hiding behind piano keys, the emotional crescendo had been building. Now, it was almost unbearable. As he placed his fingers on the keys, Jenna instinctively shifted her weight, heart clenching at the raw vulnerability about to unfold. Silence gripped the room, even the other children paused, curiosity transforming their laughter into hushed anticipation. With a simple brush across the keys, music erupted forth, a melodic tide flowing from him as if it had long awaited its escape. The sound was rich and layered, weaving through the air, capturing the listening audience with an enchanting allure. It wasn't just music, it was a testament to struggles, a narrative of burdens born in silence. Jenna had never heard him play like this before. It wasn't merely a presentation, rather, it was an unveiling of the essence of Sam. As she listened, she saw flashes of his life, the late nights spent practicing, the quiet moments of doubt where he wondered if any of it mattered. Every note strummed against her heart, unveiling not just his hidden talent, but elements of their shared existence, the perseverance, the longing, the hope for something different. Midway through the performance, Sam locked eyes with her. He wasn't just playing for the audience, he was playing for her. The worry that had gripped her began to dissolve under the warmth of understanding, revealing a truth. This was not merely a fear-driven leap, it was part of a shared journey intended to evolve their perspectives, challenging each in unique ways. As the last note lingered in the air, silence stretched before an eruption of applause erupted from the audience. Sam beamed, surprise flickering across his features, breaking through layers of doubt that had once consumed him. Jenna felt tears prick at her eyes, a mixture of pride and a realization that this small moment held the potential to redefine everything. But it was then that the moment darkened. A voice emerged from the crowd, cutting through the applause, a taunt that hit hard and true. So what? He's just a kid playing a piano. Laughter fluttered around the edges, a sneering reminder of the silent doubts that hovered over their lives. Jenna's heart sank with the weight of potential dissolution. Was this victory now tainted? Could their newfound connection withstand the scars of ridicule, or would it catalyze old fears into a tidal wave that would drown them both? As Sam's face paled, uncertainty gripped Jenna tighter than even before. The ground beneath their feet felt unstable, the triumph shadowed by external judgment. Could they tune each other back into harmony? Jenna's breath hitched in her throat as she discerned the shift in Sam's demeanor. The music that had flowed with such confidence moments earlier now felt momentarily suffocated under the weight of unwanted scrutiny. It was as if the laughter and jeers acted like a noose, tightening around the creative spirit he had just momentarily unleashed. She saw his fingers tremble, the magic of his music eclipsed by a single taunt. Panic flitted through Jenna, she could sense a tidal wave of doubt swirling around him as he blinked, attempting to compose himself. But the laughter, the disdain, it clawed at her chest, threatening to instigate a chain reaction of insecurities that neither of them could afford. This wasn't just about Sam's performance anymore. This was also about her buried dreams, the music she had yet to dare reclaim. "Come on, Sam," she murmured, though she knew he couldn't hear her over the cacophony of voices. She felt a fierce protective instinct surge within her. How could she help him navigate this storm? In that split second, Jenna made a decision. If Sam was vulnerable, she needed to be too. She could not lead him toward the light while remaining anchored in her own shadows. The weight of her silence had become a barricade, separating them further in this pivotal moment. Summoning her courage, she stepped forward, towards him. "Hey, everyone. You think it's easy to get up here? To put your heart on display?" The words were bold, ringing through the room, shocking even her. "Sam has worked hard, and what you see is a glimpse of his soul. That means more than your cheap shots ever could." Unexpectedly, silence enveloped the crowd again, the laughter extinguished. It wasn't a rebuke, it was an invitation for honesty, both for herself and for Sam. She could no longer be a passive observer to his journey or her own. This was an opportunity for both of them to rise from the ashes of doubt. The air tingled with tension, anticipation slowly shifting toward curiosity. With a deep breath, Jenna looked toward Sam. Her expression softened as she saw the initial disbelief morph into a flicker of hope. Their eyes locked, and she gestured towards the piano, an unspoken encouragement filling the space between them. "Why don't you show them what else you can do?" she urged, nodding slightly. A defiance ignited in Sam's gaze. It was a stolen moment, a flicker of resilience. Sam returned to the keys, uncertainty still etched across his features, but it was now coupled with a burgeoning resolve. He began to play again, this time, not for acceptance, but for his own truth. Each note took on a new gravity, buoyed by Jenna's support, a determination accompanying the rhythm. Jenna felt the clarity of her own desires crystallizing in that moment. Watching Sam reclaim his voice empowered her to acknowledge her own. She had once believed her aspirations had to be sacrificed to support someone else's dreams, but that was a misconception she could no longer allow to foster. It was their interconnected journey, and she needed to actively participate rather than spectate. As the music surged, Jenna was lost in a whirlwind of emotions, a blend of pride for Sam and burgeoning realization for herself. The audience, though subdued, became transfixed, some leaning closer, intrigued. It was a humbling experience to witness brilliance emerge in defiance of derision. When Sam concluded, the response felt electric. Applause erupted, more genuine this time, as if the audience had just awakened from a collective stupor. Laughter hadn't just been silenced, it had been transmuted into appreciation. Invigorated, Jenna stepped closer, embracing Sam in a spontaneous hug. In that embrace, they both felt the clinks of chains breaking. It wasn't just about music or a moment. It transcended the moment, hinting toward future transformations. But as they looked out at the crowd, Jenna noticed the figure of the taunter lingering at the back, still smirking, unbound by the magic they had just forged. The next storm was brewing, and they were unprepared. How would they confront not just his ridicule, but the layers of doubt threatening to unfold again? Would their journey of growth remain intact in the face of yet another challenge? The path ahead wavered between fear and exhilaration, the answers as elusive as the next note waiting to be played. Jenna stood frozen, the applause of the audience ringing in her ears, yet her focus was solely on the figure at the back. The smirk that played on his lips ignited a fire within her, a mix of anger and determination. She struggled to shake off her unease, reminding herself that this was not about him, it was about Sam and her newfound commitment to her own dreams. How dare he, she thought, grappling with the realization that despite their triumph, some shadows refused to lift. The taunter's presence gnawed at her, a specter of the past that echoed her own insecurities. What if the ridicule returned? What if the embers of doubt sparked back to life? She had stepped into the light, but now it threatened to dim again. Sam's apprehensive gaze fell on her, pulling her back from the abyss of her thoughts. "Did you mean what you said?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Jenna was surprised by the tremor in his tone, fragile yet filled with potential. "Absolutely." Her response came swiftly, buoyed by sincerity. "You played beautifully. What you did tonight was brave." He responded with a tentative smile, as if unsure how to absorb her words. Did he even really believe in the power of his own music? That doubt hung in the air between them, heavier than ever before, but she refused to let it leach into her own resolve. "Let us not stop here," Jenna said, the adrenaline coursing through her veins igniting a spark of creativity. "We can get better. We can even write something together. A new song, one that speaks our truth." Sam's eyes widened, surprise mixing with hope. "You want to? But I haven't exactly." Jenna interjected, her excitement bubbling over. "You haven't fully shared yourself yet. Tonight was just a taste." He looked away for a moment, wrestling with his internal battles. "Making music together? What if I mess up again?" Jenna stepped closer, narrowing the distance, the physical barrier between them bridging with her earnestness. "Then we mess up together. But think of the possibilities. You have a gift, and just like you showed that crowd tonight, it's time we share it more fully." A glimmer of acknowledgement sparked in Sam's eyes. Maybe, just maybe, he craved the expansion of his own expression as much as she did. For the first time, he wasn't alone in his journey. She was willing to embark on the same path, daring to dust off her own aspirations. As they talked, ideas began to flow, intertwining melodies and harmonies that mirrored their shared vulnerabilities. Words became notes, and creative solutions melted away the most burdensome doubts. Together, they began to sketch the contours of their new song, a tapestry of struggles and triumphs unfolding piece by piece, note by note. However, amidst their creative synergy, Jenna couldn't shake the lingering tension. She glanced over at the taunter, the realization hitting her like a cold wave. As Sam had begun to rise from his doubts, the specter was still there, looming, determined to haunt their next leap. Was that smirk an ominous foreboding of what was to come? She sensed there'd be no escape without facing him. Suddenly, the void in her heart filled with purpose. Jenna made a mental note: to forge forward, they would have to confront this challenge head-on. As Sam played a few tentative chords, Jenna smiled, the mingling fear and excitement swirling in her chest. The music began to write their story. But the looming challenge still weighed heavily on their minds. This confrontation wouldn't merely be about Sam's public embarrassment, it would determine whether they both could transcend their pasts. With Sam's eyes capturing hers, awaiting the next line of the unfolding melody, Jenna felt the pulse of transformation beating in the air around them. The storm was waiting, and within its heart lay not just turmoil, but also the possibility of monumental growth. The time had come to face the demons shadowing their dreams. Would they rise above ridicule, or would the taunter's lingering smirk become an insurmountable barrier? The studio hummed with intensity, the air thick with the fragrance of freshly brewed coffee and the soft sound of Sam's guitar. Jenna paced the room, her mind racing through the notes they had played and the lyrics they had sketched out. Each moment of creativity burst with energy, yet she felt the unshed tension clinging to her like a shadow. Sam's tentative chords floated through the air, a precarious blend of hope and anxiety. "Try this," Jenna said, snapping her fingers to punctuate her mood. "What if we open with something that grabs attention? A hook that pulls them right in." She could see Sam's brow furrow, worry creeping into his expressive eyes. The fear of failure lingered, threatening to undermine their collaborative spirit. "You've got to believe it'll resonate," she pressed gently. "I don't know," he muttered, fidgeting with a string on his guitar as he averted his gaze. "Trust me, it will." Jenna's fervor began to wane as she sensed his hesitance. She needed to penetrate the walls of doubt he had built around himself, but how? The specter of their taunter loomed larger with each note of uncertainty, a reminder that bravery had to come from both of them. "Okay, let's try writing together," she suggested, her tone softer as she shifted closer to him. "What if we write about that feeling we've both shared? Vulnerability, the art of being seen or scared." "You mean the fear that it could all go wrong?" Sam's voice barely rose above a whisper, but the essence of his question hung like an unresolved chord between them. "Exactly," Jenna exclaimed, excitement bubbling back to the surface. "We can redirect the energy of that fear into the song. Let it reflect how we're both stepping into the unknown. It's about strength, but also the moments when we feel small. It'll be real." The silence stretched, the weight of her words hanging in the air. She had shared pieces of her own journey, the moments of doubt and insecurity that surfaced through her music. Sam nodded slightly, a flicker of understanding passing through his expression. "Let's do it then," he finally declared, a hint of resolve strengthening his tone. "Let's face the fear." As the soft strumming resumed, an unexpected clarity emerged. Melodies began to entwine their thoughts, forming phrases that conveyed both their strengths and vulnerabilities. Jenna felt something shift inside her. The creative flow coursing between them emerged not just from collaboration, but from a deeper understanding of their respective journeys. Still, the looming figure of their taunter returned to Jenna's mind. "What if he shows up again?" she finally confessed, her voice small but resolute. "What if he mocks us, or worse, tries to ruin what we're building?" Sam's resolve faltered for a moment, but then he looked at Jenna. "You're right," he said, displaying a spark of determination. "But we can't let him define us. We define ourselves through our art." A wave of camaraderie washed over Jenna. Together they could rise above, transforming pain into something powerful. She suggested they record their first rough draft, capturing the rawness of their emotions. As Sam pressed record, Jenna felt her heart race, the risks amplifying her sense of purpose. The fear of replaying their mockery intensified, yet so did the exhilaration of creating something authentic, and just as they began, a sudden noise interrupted the moment, a familiar laugh that froze Jenna mid-lyric. She turned sharply to find their taunter standing at the entrance, a mocking grin etched onto his face. "Thought I'd come to see the train wreck," he called out, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Jenna's heart raced, dread washing over her. This was it. They had to stand firm, but facing him in this moment felt daunting. Would their resolve withstand this? Could they channel their strength into confronting the specter of their fears head-on, with Sam beside her, crafting their song a testament to their newfound honesty and creativity? Jenna stood poised at the precipice of not just confrontation, but of transformation. It was a moment pregnant with danger and possibility. They were called to act. Would they let the taunter's mockery define their journey, or would they harness it to fuel their resilience? In that suspended moment, the drumbeat of destiny resonated deep within her. Would they rise to the challenge together, or would the echoes of doubt pull them back into the shadows? Jenna's breath caught in her throat. The laughter from their taunter hung in the air, thick and suffocating. She watched Sam's grip on the guitar tighten, his fingers trembling against the strings. The air crackled with tension, and for a heartbeat, everything outside of their confrontation faded away. "You think this is funny?" she finally spoke, her voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions inside her. The vulnerability she had embraced moments ago shifted into something more potent, a fierce resolve. Each note struck by Sam resonated not just with music, but with her growing determination to reclaim their space. The taunter stepped closer, a smug expression gracing his features. "What do you expect? A bunch of wannabe musicians playing their hearts out? It's a sad sight." He leaned against the door frame as if mocking them through sheer audacity. "Funny how you think this is a spectator sport," Jenna countered, a sudden fire igniting within her. "We create here, something you could never comprehend." The words were out before she had time to doubt them, a revelation, a barrier against the looming specter. It was a moment of clarity. She realized that every insult he threw wasn't about her talent but reflected his own insecurities and fears. They were mere projections of someone too afraid to engage in artistry themselves. Sam shifted beside her, his voice low but resolute. "You're right, we're not here for your approval. We're here to make something real, something that comes from who we are." The taunter scoffed, attempting to dismiss their words. Yet, Jenna could feel the shift in the atmosphere. The small amount of credibility he held seemed like a paper wall crumbling at the touch of their newfound courage. "Let us show them what we can do," Jenna said, channeling her fear and frustration into a spark of creativity. She turned back to Sam, locking eyes with him, both of them grasping the weight of the moment. "Let us play." With a nod, he began strumming the guitar again, the initial notes barely a whisper but rising steadily with the rhythm of their beating hearts. This was more than a song, it was a testament to their resilience, a declaration of independence from the judgments that had followed them. As they began to sing, Jenna felt liberated, like each note was carving out a new path towards personal agency. The lyrics spoke of vulnerability, of standing firm against doubt, transforming their pain into something beautiful and visceral. Each word resonated with their shared journey and contradicted the mockery that had once loomed over them, yet, as their song continued, Jenna couldn't help but glance at the taunter. His expression had shifted from disdain to surprise, and that flicker of astonishment ignited a sense of satisfaction within her. They were not merely enduring his presence, they were thriving in spite of it. The moment felt electric, but Jenna knew they weren't immune to future challenges. The song ended, and silence filled the room, heavy with unspoken questions. "Are you done now?" The taunter finally spat, trying to regain control. But there was an imperceptible crack in his facade, the mockery that once had power now felt feeble. With a head held high, Jenna responded, "We're just getting started." Looking over at Sam, she could sense the deepening connection between them, the thrill of artistic collaboration building with each exchange. They both understood that this was not merely about confronting an antagonist but about the evolution of their identities as artists. "I've got an idea for the next verse," Sam said, his fingers already moving to the strings, reclaiming his confidence alongside Jenna. Jenna could barely contain her excitement. They were ready to delve deeper into the raw emotions that fuel their creativity. They had faced judgment and pushed back, but the real battle lay in the vulnerability of carving out their creative identity. As they plunged ahead into their next creation, Jenna felt a looming presence still in the back of her mind, a reminder that the journey was not yet over. Would they be able to completely exorcise the taunts from their past, or would new voices of doubt arise to challenge them again? Suddenly, the studio door swung open again, and their producer stepped in, a mix of confusion and concern on his face. "What just happened in here?" he demanded, his eyes scanning their expressions, sensing the tension in the air. The moment hung suspended, and Jenna felt a new spark ignite within her. This could be the opportunity to expose the raw energy they had just harnessed. "Let us show him," she whispered to Sam, a steely determination replacing the lingering shadows of doubt. With a collective breath, Jenna and Sam turned to their producer, who still stood at the threshold, analyzing their expressions like a puzzle yet to be solved. The air vibrated with potential, and Jenna knew they stood at a critical juncture of their musical journey. "We just had a breakthrough," Jenna started, her voice laced with excitement. "We were about to dive deeper into our new song." Sam nodded fervently, grateful to have her articulating their vision. Their producer's skepticism softened, curiosity taking its place. "A breakthrough? What do you mean?" Jenna glanced at Sam, who met her gaze with a spark of mutual understanding. What they created in that heated moment of defiance was not merely a reaction to an antagonist, it was an authentic representation of their growth as artists. "We want to show you what we can truly do," she said, her conviction growing stronger. "We're ready to explore a sound that's really us." "Let us start fresh, then," their producer replied, his earlier frown replaced by an earnest interest. "But I need you to focus, to really dig into your roots. Show me why your music matters." The challenge resonated deeply within Jenna as she inhaled sharply. Daring to peel back her layers, essentially exposing herself in front of the very person who could shape their career, was a daunting task. Yet, this was the moment she craved the chance to put everything they had learned, everything they had fought for, into their music. "We'll give you a glimpse into our world," she declared. As Sam began to strum a new rhythm, Jenna immersed herself in their electrifying atmosphere. It felt like churning emotions transformed into the fabric of their melody, a call to confront and embrace what shaped them as artists. She could feel the words coiling in her chest like a tightly wound spring, begging for release. Intrigued by their energy, their producer moved closer, eyes narrowing in concentration. "What are the themes you want to explore?" he prodded, keen to spark the essence of their artistry. Jenna paused for a moment, wrestling with the duality of her experience. This was about more than just fighting back against negativity, it was also about resilience, growth, embracing identity, and the raw edges of life that often went unnoticed. "We want to express that vulnerability can be strength," she stated, clarity sharpening her thoughts. "And that it's okay to feel lost, but it's also important to find a way back to yourself." With newfound urgency, Sam chimed in, "There's beauty in the struggle, it's what makes our voice unique. We've been through the mud, but we're rising above." The producer nodded, a flicker of recognition on his face. "Good, that's the kind of authenticity that resonates. Now, let us take that feeling and translate it into sound. Show me your soul." As they began to play again, Jenna felt the music acting as a conduit, guiding their emotions and experiences through every note. Each strum of the guitar, each lyric crafted, became a reflection of their journey, the joy, the hurt, the triumph over self-doubt. Encouraged by the fresh environment, Jenna lost herself in the symbiotic flow, and Sam matched her intensity with fervent guitar riffs that echoed her heart. With each passing moment, the pieces of their identity began to weave seamlessly into a song that straddled vulnerability and strength, but just as their idea solidified, a nagging voice crept back into Jenna's mind. Were they truly prepared for the scrutiny that success would bring? Her internal conflict simmered beneath the surface, gearing up for an inevitable confrontation with herself. "Remember what we talked about," their producer reminded, grounding her thoughts. "Stay true to those lifelines. We're building a story here, and every moment counts." With his words echoing in her ears, Jenna resolved to keep pushing through, forging ahead in a way that was true to herself. The music flowed unhindered, but those shadows of doubt loomed larger in her psyche. Suddenly, an unanticipated revelation struck Jenna. Could the keys they played unlock not only their potential but also spark the innate genius they hadn't fully tapped into yet? "Sam," she mused, her mind racing. "What if we built the song around a recurring theme? What makes our music feel alive?" Sam's eyes lit up, and both of them shared a moment of understanding. The essence of their sound lay not only in their struggles but in the simple, often overlooked aspects of everyday life that inspired them. As they decided to craft a piece around that foundational idea, the atmosphere crackled with renewed vigor. Jenna's thoughts danced with possibility even as doubts threatened to creep back in, and as they continued to explore the depths of their creativity, Jenna couldn't shake the feeling that the journey ahead would demand every ounce of courage she had. What else might they uncover as they dug deeper into their artistic souls, and would they be able to fight against the specter of their past failures? With the music framing their thoughts, she prepared for the realm of the unknown. The moment of revelation was near, and Jenna could feel it on the horizon. As the last chord hung in the air, vibrating with a fresh intensity, Jenna felt a shift in her core. The moment they had grasped the realization that their music could encapsulate both the mundane and the profound was electric. But with excitement came pressure, like a storm gathering on the horizon. Jenna's pulse quickened as the weight of potential success pressed on her chest. "I think we've got something," Sam said, wiping sweat from his brow. "But it's just the beginning. There's so much more we can explore." Jenna nodded, the fire of creativity igniting within. She envisioned a song steeped in unfiltered honesty, a canvas where each brushstroke would tell a story. "We barely scratched the surface," she agreed, a mix of trepidation and eagerness swirling within. "But we need to dig deep, right into the experiences that shaped us." Their producer watched closely, assessing their synergy with keen eyes. "I want you to pull from the well of your life," he encouraged, his tone shifting to one of urgency. "Find those lilies in the mire that inspire you to create." Taking his cue, Jenna opened her thoughts to the flood of memories that bubbled beneath the surface, some painful, others exhilarating, but all vital. Images of late-night drives, laughter echoing through empty streets, and tears shared over quiet meals came rushing forward. "Let's write about those moments. The simple, unrefined stuff that forms the backbone of who we are." As they settled into a rhythm, Jenna's voice wove through the melody, each line becoming more than mere lyrics. They transformed into a confessional. Yet, the more she revealed, the more the doubts lurked like specters at the periphery of her mind. Would this honesty expose her enough to face scrutiny? "Jenna, what's wrong?" Sam's voice pulled her back from the precipice of her spiraling thoughts. "You're holding back." I don't want to regret how much I share," she admitted, the vulnerability in her voice betraying her resolve. "What if this is too much? What if they see the flaws?" "Jenna," Sam urged, his expression earnest, "people connect with realness. They want authenticity. If we hide that, what's the point?" His words resonated, but the fear lingered like a shadow. A single moment of exuberance could lead to overwhelming exposure. Could she turn her trepidation into strength? With a deep breath, Jenna anchored herself in the present, gravitating to the collective energy. She picked up her guitar again, strumming with renewed determination. "Let us not shy away from our mistakes, Sam. Those are the tales worth telling." As they brainstormed ideas for verses, each one built on the interconnectedness of life, laughter, struggles, and the triumphantly ordinary moments they had long overlooked, a scene unfolded in Jenna's mind. It was a potluck dinner, a gathering of friends sharing their lives over homemade meals, bursting laughter mingling with the rich scent of shared experiences. The dinner table has always been a refuge for me, Jenna articulated as the image grew clearer. It's where stories unfold over bites of comfort food, where we're most human. Sam picked up on her thread, eyes sparkling with inspiration. What if we frame the song around a dinner scene, showing how even the simplest exchanges matter? Yes. Jenna's enthusiasm was palpable. We can encapsulate the warmth of companionship and the messy elegance of vulnerability in every note. They dove deeper into this idea, blending melodies that captured each nuance of the ordinary with harmonies that lifted the emotions. While they brainstormed, she could feel that the song was unexpectedly evolving. It wasn't just about their journey as artists anymore, but as people, even if it meant revealing their imperfections. But amid the creative flow, the shadows of self-doubt still flickered. What if their revelation fell flat or, worse, faced cruel judgment? The tension in Jenna's stomach knotted tighter. Still, bolstered by Sam's unwavering support and clarity surrogate, she made a decision. They would stand behind their art, exposing the intricacies of their lives, no matter the risk of scrutiny. It was time to embrace not only the beautiful moments but the awkward truths that made their stories resonate. As they wrapped up the session, Jenna felt a flame of determination. She had uncovered a new facet of herself, an artist unafraid of the power of her own story. The pieces were coming together both musically and personally, but as dawn broke around them, a whisper of trepidation urged her to brace for external forces that lay ahead. Where would this journey take them? Would they find acceptance or disdain? Clarity dawned that they were on the precipice of much more than just music. They were preparing to present not only a song, but an unguarded self, a prospect that filled Jenna with equal measures of hope and anxiety. As their last strum resonated, she turned to Sam, gleaming with an excitement tinged with foreboding. I think we've found our starting point. But is the world ready to hear our truth? His expression, a mix of exhilaration and concern, mirrored her uncertainty. That question lingered heavily in the air, a precarious edge waiting to tip them into the unknown. What awaited them beyond their creative bubble was a labyrinth of challenges that would test every ounce of resolve they had uncovered. Would they find the courage to face not just the music industry, but themselves along the way? The day of the talent show arrived, an unyielding wave of anticipation coursing through Jenna and Sam. Yet, instead of apprehension, they felt a newfound resolve to share their story. Gone were the shadows that once held them captive, they had transformed into advocates for their dreams. Sam, standing on the brink of the stage, seemed more alive than ever, his fingers lightly dancing over the strings of his guitar, ready to unleash the collective voice they had forged together. Jenna watched him, pride coursing through her veins. He had spent countless hours practicing, but what mattered most was not mastering a piece but conveying a part of themselves. They were no longer merely mother and son, they were artists, crafting an undeniable connection through their music. The tension of the past, the fears, the ridicule, the doubt had become a foundation upon which they built their sound. It was a testament to resilience. As they stepped onto the stage, the lights were blindingly bright, the audience's faces obscured. For a moment, silence hung thick in the air, a palpable expectation. Jenna felt her own heart pound in rhythm with Sam's anticipation. It anchored her, reminding her of the journey they had undertaken. You ready? Sam asked, his voice steady. More than ever, Jenna replied, feeling a sense of liberation. They weren't seeking validation, they were there to share who they were. With the first strum of the guitar, they launched into their song, the music flowing with an honesty that had the power to transform. The lyrics unfolded like a story woven from the fabric of their lives, illuminating the beauty found in both joy and struggle. Each note resonated deeply, curating a tapestry of emotion that captured every listener in the room. Jenna could see the familiarity of the potluck dinners and shared experiences come alive, the warmth translating into a powerful resonance on stage. Midway through, Jenna's eyes met with familiar faces in the audience, friends, family, and even the taunter from before. But rather than cower under judgment, she felt empowered. The audience shifted, intrigue shimmering in their gazes. This was a story they wanted to hear. As Sam's fingers danced across the guitar strings effortlessly blending into her voice, Jenna felt her spirit lift. She had reclaimed her place not just as a mother but as a creator. And then it happened. The audience erupted into applause, a thunderous acknowledgement that seemed to bounce off the walls, enveloping them in affection and acceptance. This was it, real acknowledgement. Sam flashed a radiant smile, and in that moment, Jenna knew they had achieved something monumental. As they finished the song, the applause washed over them like a warm embrace. Sam's shoulders relaxed, a sense of tranquility illuminating his face. In this shared victory, she could feel how much he had grown not only as a musician but as an individual ready to face the world. Jenna felt the tears well up, not from sadness but from a profound recognition that they had crossed a threshold together. They stepped back from the stage, breathless and exhilarated, their hearts alight with genuine connection both to themselves and to their audience. Later, as they mingled with friends and shared their music, Jenna received heartfelt compliments. People applauded Sam's talent, and for the first time, they saw her not just as a mother but as an artist. She had wielded her fears like paint on a canvas and crafted a masterpiece of resilience. The recognition she had craved was finally there, tangible and uplifting. Amidst the crowd, Sam approached, his eyes sparkling with newfound confidence. "I think we did it," he said, a wonder in his voice. "Yes, we did," Jenna responded, beaming with pride. "You showed them your light, and I shared mine too. We became a team in every sense." They shared a moment of comfortable silence, the journey they embarked on now stitched into the fabric of their lives. And then, with the echoes of applause still ringing in their ears, Jenna realized that they had not just conquered a stage, but had also forged a stronger bond, a mutual understanding that would inform their relationship moving forward. As they drove home, the stars twinkling above them, an exhilarating sense of possibility filled the car. "What if we kept writing?" Sam suggested, a spark of excitement igniting within. "Absolutely," Jenna replied, enthusiasm threading through her voice. "We'll keep sharing our stories. This is just the beginning." In those words, she recognized her own transformation. The quiet mother had found her voice again, boldly reclaiming a part of herself that had long been muted. They had faced their demons and emerged unscathed, a duo ready to embrace whatever came next. The road ahead was still unclear, dotted with new challenges, but the journey was now shared. Jenna felt a surge of confidence, knowing that together they could face the world and create something that transcended their fears, a narrative interwoven with resilience, love, and unmistakable talent. Now was the time to channel that energy. Jenna smiled to herself, buoyed by the idea of what lay ahead, confident that as long as they had each other anything was possible. Don't wait even one more second. You need to subscribe now to catch more exclusive emotional stories like this one. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and support our journey. Comment below your reactions and theories about this heartwarming ending. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Show them what it's all about.